So why does meditation work so well? And what is it really doing? You know, I recently had this sort of revelation about it. I've been studying the teachings of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj for years now. And as much as I have digested of his limited recorded lectures, he barely wrote anything. He did write a book, which I've read, and it's available. I forget what it's called, but he wrote a book pretty earlier on in his experiences. But just recently, I want to talk. I was thinking about this point that he made about meditation, which is the regular practice of meditation is all you need for your spiritual practice. Because it allows you to give up your attachments. And so I want to delve a little bit deeper into what that means and what that's about. So I'm gonna talk about the Tibetan Book of the Dead. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, after you die, you go through experiences which are varied, and it's sort of like you cycle through a bunch of different realms of experience after you die, or in the process of dying. And depending on what you're attracted to, depending on what you're attached to, depending on what you feel identified with, you'll get stuck in that particular state, and you'll get identified with it. And then you'll get reborn. So at some point I realized that, okay, well, this is really what we're doing all the time. This is what all of life is. Life and death are the same thing. It's all just whatever you're attached to, whatever you crave, whatever you're identified with. And this is the same thing that Maharaj taught. This is what keeps you stuck. And he said there are no needs, there are only wants. There are only wants. You don't have to do anything. You're not compelled to live. You're a spiritual being. You don't need this body. You're here because you want to be here, because you crave these experiences of life. You're identified with them. Okay, so what does that have to do with meditation? And on a more practical level, how does that apply to your life? The idea is this. What's keeping you stuck in your life, keeping you from moving on, keeping you from flowing with life, keeping you from growing with life, is whatever your mind is attached to or hung up on. So when you meditate, you're observing the mind from an impartial, distant viewpoint. You begin to learn about the mind, and you begin to become detached from experiences. And if you're doing meditation right, you are rigorously refusing to harbor any thoughts, as Maharaj said. The rigorous refusal to harbor thoughts is all that it is. So you're just refusing to entertain any thoughts. You have a thought that says, oh, I can't get along with my coworkers, what am I going to do? They're all out to get me. Let it go. You have a thought that says, I think I'm really good at painting. I'm going to be a great painter someday. Let it go. Good or bad thoughts. Because the whole point is you're just letting go of your attachment. You're letting go of your attachment to anything, you know, and you're refusing to entertain thoughts because you know that thoughts are not real. They don't represent anything except for a momentary blip of some sort of interpretation of some aspect of reality somewhere that happens to float into your brain and then get condensed down and turned into language and processed and experienced through your brain and nervous system, okay? So limited that you can't trust your thoughts, and you are not your thoughts. So the epiphany that I had about this and about Maharaj's teaching is simply that when you practice meditation regularly, as he said, you are casting off your moorings, right? Like a boat. Casting off your moorings, you cast off your attachments, and then you're able to float to the next phase or to the next stage. And it's not about creating your life. You know, there's so much information about manifestation and creating reality and so on, affirmations, and those can be useful at certain stages. But for the most part, all you really need to do is let go of the attachments that you have. And the reason for this is, if you can let go of the attachments, then you can begin to flow. You can begin to flow. And you can begin to accept the flow of life, which is really the only thing you need to do. Resistance is what's stopping you, what's holding you back. So regular meditation is just becoming more and more in this state of giving up attachments so that you can flow, and so that you don't get stuck in a particular place, and you can flow with life where it wants to take you.